All right, Devin, last section this week, we're going to go over some board games that are in crowdfunding, ending in about the next 2 weeks. I think the last games here end on October 10th. So you've got 5 to 13, 14 days to check these out if you want to. So we'll go through these 8 games kind of quickly, give our picks of the week, and then we're just going to wrap this one up. First up, Puerto Rico is a very famous game that came out, I think, 20 years ago. It was the #1 rated board game on Board Game Geek for a long, long time. It's not now. I think it's in the 40s. I watched a gameplay video for this one. I don't have Puerto Rico. I've never played it. But it did seem like it has some pretty cool game mechanisms in the game. And this remake kind of takes all the expansions and stuffs them in, some new content as well, and it adds deluxe components. So if you're really into Puerto Rico, this is the ultimate version. But if you already have Puerto Rico and you don't really care about the new fancy plastic pieces, then you're probably okay. This is done by Awaken Realms. They do the huge games. Devin, we talked about Grim Coven a few months ago, same company here. They do really big games, lots of add-ons and lots of minis, lots of okay, here's the game. Even in this, this is a Euro game, so much different than Grim Coven. Even in this one, it's, okay, here's the base game. Then if you want the deluxe version, it's a $50 bigger box, so you have to add on. And then if you want the city pack that adds all these big city miniature pieces, it's another box. Just kind of crazy, but I know people like them. They did the Castles of Burgundy super deluxe version, and that one was a big hit. So I think this one is also performing really well. Yeah, I don't know that I have a lot more to say about it. Again, I watched a video and I thought the gameplay looked pretty cool. You choose a tile that is your action for the round, and based on the one you choose, everybody else also gets to do some slightly lesser version of that action. And I like that follow mechanic where everybody gets to do something on a turn. Feels good not to just have to wait forever for it to get back to me. But other than that, it seemed fairly straightforward. You're selling stuff, buying stuff, building buildings on your own plantation. Anyways, that one ends on October 3rd. Has quite a few different pledge levels. I think the base one without the big city plastic miniatures and without the plastic boats is $60. And if you want everything, you're over 100 and close to 150 if you want the play mats and the metal coins and everything. So that's kind of the idea there. That one's on Gamefound. All right, next up is Tameri, I think is how it is pronounced, from a company called Postscriptium. And this one kind of gave me Gizmos vibes, which is a game I actually just got recently. I still haven't played it though. But the main comparison point there is it has a big marble tower kind of thing where you drop marbles in the top and then they will fall out in some randomized fashion. In this game, those marbles represent the weather and kind of the inconsistencies of the weather. It might be rainy or it might be dry. And I think there's one more. I think silt is one of them. It might be very silty, whatever that kind of weather means. But when those marbles go in those 4 different lanes, they kind of determine what actions and things you can do along those portions of the river. And yeah, I thought that was a cool looking effect. You're also placing cards in a row, and if you're able to match symbols, then you get to do some bonus actions. And so I like it when I like having my own player board in a game, but I do like it when there's a central board that everyone is focused on, And there's lots of like interaction points, like, okay, you put this there, and if I put this thing there that has a symbol on it that matches the symbol you just played, like that's a good feeling as well, to kind of, that way you feel a little more invested in what everyone else is doing on their turns. So anyways, I thought it looked pretty solid. It has like a, again, like most of these games do, a more standard version, and then it has a fancier version that has this little like marble tower that you dump them like into the pyramid in the middle, and like wooden pieces instead of cardboard. But I think even this basic version looks pretty cool. Those marbles just remind me of the marbles in Gizmos. So, and even in Gizmos they have these little cardboard circle things to hold your marbles, just like those 3 cardboard holders right there. But yeah, it looks pretty fun. I think this is a game that I would enjoy. It doesn't look overly complex. I'd say medium weight, probably around, you know, high 2s would be my guess. But it looks like a pretty good time to me. That one is also on Gamefound and ends on the 8th of October. Okay, next up is a very quirky one, but it was designed by Maxime Tardif, I think is his name. He's the gentleman who designed Earth, which won tons of awards last year, I think it came out. And this is Rayman, the board game. And man, I really love like the art in the newer Rayman games that this is based on, Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends. They are just excellent 2D platformers with some fun like music levels and platforming, finding secrets. You have to find these little trapped teensies all throughout the levels. And yeah, there's a pretty simple and light game. It's a race. First one to make a lap around the board, and in that lap has saved 3 teensies, wins. So you're playing cards down, and those cards have different movement values on them. They might say you can jump up to a platform, or you can run forward, or you can smack. And if you smack and you're next to one of the other players, you push them backwards a little bit. You smack and you're next to a trapped teensy. That's how you save one of them. So it's a pretty simple game, at least mechanically, just by playing those cards. And then it has a ton of these like add-on miniatures that you can add. Even the base version, though, I think is $50. It does come with the 4 main miniature figures. I think I don't remember all of their names, of Rayman and his 3 buddies. But then if you want like 20 more figures in 3 different outfits and stuff, or you want a figure that's 4 times as big, then there are those too. So you can get a lot of bonuses and extras in the game. But I don't know, it could be a fun little jaunt. I'm very picky with race games too, because I feel like they can be kind of boring at times. Like, okay, I play this card, I move forward 2 spots. And you play that card and you move forward 3 spots. This one looks like it has a little more zaniness and chaos going on than I would probably prefer. I'm more in the camp of something like Heat behind me, which is has a little bit of randomness with the card draw you get from your deck. But there's a lot of strategy in like, do I take some Heat cards, and when do I play this card? Do I blow past that corner knowing I have to spend some extra Heat? Where this looks quite a bit lighter, and probably something you could play with kids pretty easily, I would imagine. But I think it's doing pretty well. Scroll back up to the top, Devin. We'll just see how well it's doing. Yeah, 206,000, 1,500 backers. So yeah, not too shabby. Anyways, that's Rayman the board game. This one's on Kickstarter and ends on the 8th. Okay, next up is a double feature, and this is from Garphill Games. They make so many games over there at Garphill. I don't know how they do it. I have I have one of their games right here behind me. It's called Architects of the West Kingdom. And it's a really great worker placement game. It was the first game in the West Kingdom series, which is a trilogy that they've now finished. And that trilogy came after, I think, the North Sea trilogy that they've also finished. And now after the West Kingdom trilogy, they have another trilogy that I can't remember the name of that I think might also be done. And this is a side story. I also have Hadrian's Wall back here. And anyways, I don't know how they make so many games, but they are also one of the most loved kind of publishers, at least for like more strictly like Euro games. The two games they have here are Skara, Brae, and the Anarchy. Skara, Brae is a bit lighter. It's kind of a resource management game where you're playing as the leader of a tribe thousands of years ago, and you have to gather resources, and some of those resources are kind of funny ones, like things you wouldn't think would be valuable, like bones and stuff like that. And then you're using them to build out, I think, kind of your village. But the place that you store your resources is kind of this like central storage room. And if you fill it up too much, some of your resources, I think, start to create more and more waste. So you have to be really like tight and careful with how much waste you're creating by storing too many resources. Cool idea. I think the game looks really fun. The other one, the Anarchy, is quite a bit heavier and more complicated, and it's kind of like a halfway sequel to Hadrian's Wall, which is one of the most complicated. Well, complicated isn't even the right word, but it is heavy, and which is another word for complicated. So I don't know what I'm saying. Long, thinky, roll and write games. Like it takes like 45 minutes to an hour to play. You have 2 sheets, and they are both just full of things that you're crossing off. Like get a resource, and that helps you build up the wall over here, and then you're fighting off dudes over here, and it's very complex. I like that kind of thing. I generally like my roll and writes to be shorter experiences, but when I'm in the right mood, I think it's very, very cool. The theme in the Anarchy is that you have just taken over the kingdom when the king died, even though you were not supposed to be the heir, and the rightful heir is trying to attack you in the castle. So you have to defend the castle, and if you're able to do so, you win. Anyways, that was an oversimplification, but really cool components, beautiful artwork. It's kind of what they're known for over at Garphill. And yeah, you can get one or both of the games here in this pledge, and they'll deliver, I think, next June. And they have a great track record. I would have absolutely zero concerns backing one of their games. The almost all of their games come out to retail though, and so this is one I'll probably just wait on. And what are they, $93 for both games? So that's like $45 each. I'll probably get them for like $30 each if I just wait. And they'll, next November, they'll be in retail. So that's probably what I will do. But I know a lot of people love getting these Garphill games like immediately. So this campaign, I bet, is doing even better than Rayman, but that's probably a bold guess. Scroll up to the top, Devin. We'll see if I'm dead wrong.
246.
Okay, 246. 2,000, almost 2,100 backers with 13 days. So it is doing a little better. Anyways, I think that one looks cool. That one ends on the 9th. All right, 4 more games here before we end. This one's called Pantheum. And in this game, you are trying to... terraform's not the right word, but you're trying to kind of... what's the word? Like, manipulate the land. You're given this card, which kind of reminds me of a Codenames card. It has like a 4x4 grid on it, and you're supposed to keep it secret from the other players, I believe. And it says, okay, this is what you want the land to look like. But everyone else has one that's different than yours. And so you're moving your pawn around this 16 kind of board grid. Board isn't the right word. 16 tile board. Doing things like moving tokens around and eventually placing these big cards over those sand pieces in order to permanently permanently kind of change the landscape. Looks I think it looks pretty like a well produced and is a pretty light and thoughtful game. I don't know that this one is necessarily for me. It's a bit of like, I just talked about loving a central board where everyone is, doing stuff a little bit and competing, but this is like maybe a little too much of that sometimes, where I put something down and you immediately move it or remove it, which for some reason in a multiplayer game isn't always the best feeling to me. But yeah, lots of cool components here. You can get nice big miniatures, this cool 3-sided rock die. I don't know if it's actually made of stone. I doubt it, but it's resin actually. So it should look about like that. Cool idea. Anyways, I thought it looked pretty solid. Not exactly my cup of tea. I generally like a bit more of a Euro game where I can do a little bit of my own thing and you can't mess with it too much. Maybe a little bit, but not too much. But that is Pantheum on Kickstarter until the 10th. Okay, 3 more. March of the Ants. This is like a remake with new artwork of an earlier game called March of the Ants. Yeah, the Evolved edition. And it comes with a bit of new content and like I think a small expansion as well. This is what they call a 4X game, where you're generally trying to do 4 different things, and I forget what all the X's stand for, but it's like expand, explore, exterminate, and I can't remember the 4th one, but 4X is the name of that genre. So you play as the queen ant. Is that the right word? Or do ants have a queen? They do, right? Is it a queen?
I think so.
Okay. Queen ant leading your hive, and you'll send your workers out to explore. Sometimes fight with the other ant factions, or fight with some of the caterpillars and other bugs that are around. And then you're also trying to like upgrade your ant. You can put 3 different cards on your ant for like a head, a body, and what would you call that? Abdomen?
A butt.
The butt card. And those give you like different abilities for your hive and stuff. What was that? One of the main reasons I'm really excited for this game is because it was designed by Tim Eisner and Weird City Games, and I really like some of his other games. Canopy is one of my my wife's favorite games to play, 2 players, where you're building like this little canopy of trees and getting animal cards. So I like his designs. I think it kind of takes what is usually kind of a meaner looking genre, generally like sci-fi, like I'm going out and blasting your ships and stuff, and kind of a fun theme to put that on a little bit. Some of the bugs are a little creepy looking, but I don't know, it seems a bit shorter than a lot of other 4X games are, a bit more Euro influenced, and I like the change in theme to something a little more grounded. So I'm thinking about that one. That's March of the Ants, and it's on Kickstarter until the 10th. Next up is a collection of games called LUDOS, and this company, whose name I am spacing on, Lemery Games, has done quite a few of these like collections. Basically, they like go to a country and find some games that have been played in that country for hundreds or thousands of years, and then like they don't remake them, they just basically publish them with like minimalist but clean and nice new components. And so this one is 4 different abstract games from Africa, and I think you can buy any one of them in like a little cinch bag. And I have actually backed one of their campaigns in the past, so I have a game called Bog Chal, that comes in one of those little cinch bags. But if you want all 4 of the games, you can buy them, and they come in these little mini boxes, and those mini boxes slide into this bigger box, which is kind of a cool looking thing, because then that bigger box can fit on your shelf like a normal sized game, or you can just take out the bag or just one of the mini boxes. Just wanted, more than anything, just wanted to give this like ideology a shout out, because I think it's a cool initiative. I didn't love Bogchaw. I think it's an okay game, and so I'm not saying that I would hate all 4 of these games by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm just picky with abstract games as well, and so I need them to be a little more vetted maybe beforehand, which it is what they're doing, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. Anyways, this one is on Kickstarter until the 10th, and again, very cool initiative. I just don't know if the games are necessarily for me. And last up is Emberleaf. This game is from West. What's the name of this?
Frank
West, and his company's name is like West. I can't remember. Is it City of Kings? No, that's the name of his first board game. I feel like the name of the company is something West. I don't know. I have Isle of Cats. You can see it right behind me right here. That's one of their other games, probably their most popular other game. And I like it. It's not my favorite game, but I think it's a good one. This game looks pretty fun. It has an interesting mechanism where they call it card dancing. So each player plays as one of these 5 factions. It's a little bit heavier than Isle of Cats, it looks like. It says 90 to 120 minutes. And with these different factions, you will be either playing a card down to your little player board or dancing, which basically means you slide all of your cards one spot to the left, and then any cards that have a slide ability will activate, and any cards that have a fall off ability, when they fall off the left side of your board, then that ability will activate. So you're kind of like rotating through your faction's cards. When you play them, you get their on play ability, and then when you decide to dance, you'll get those slide and drop off abilities. And those cards are letting you do things like move around on this forest board, build different buildings, get new heroes, and fight, I think, like clear out like some of the unwanted villains in the area as well. Yeah, it says walking, gathering, and attacking are some of the common actions that you can take. So I don't know, I think that what they call card dancing, it's not the most like innovative thing in the world, where you're putting a card down and then it in some programmatic way is sliding and activating. It sounds kind of fun though, even though it I think they just came up with a new term for something that kind of already exists. But cool publisher, they make some good games. I like Isle of Cats. Has cool artwork. I don't know what it is right now, if it was Everdell or Root that kind of started this trend, or something else, but so many games are like, hey, you want to play as a mouse? You want to play as a little squirrel? Then
all
here you
the
go.
woodland creatures.
Yeah. I don't know. And I really loved like The Secret of Nim growing up. And so I'm like kind of into that, which is weird. But anyways, I think that one looks fun. If you want a medium weight Euro game with this strange kind of card dancing mechanism from a publisher that generally makes good stuff. That one is on Kickstarter until October 10th. All right, Devin, that was a lot of a lot of words I just said at you.
Great job describing all of them.
Thanks, my mouth's a little dry. While I take a sip of my drink, which of these 8 games gets Devin's pick of the week for the last week in September?
I would need to read a little bit more, but from what I'm seeing here, I choose this one, Emberleaf, for the artwork a slightly unique mechanic that I don't think I've played with probably. And I did notice it had a solo mode too, which is kind of a plus for a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yep, it does. And I like it when a game's able to get to 5 players. Sometimes that makes a game too long, but in some games it works just great. Like in the Isle of Cats, 5 works pretty well because a lot of the things you're doing simultaneously. So this is one of the top ones for me this week as well. I think that my pick of the week is going to go to March of the Ants. I really think Skara, Brae, and the Anarchy look great, but yeah, I'm just kind of excited about 4X games recently because I don't really have like any of them. Andromeda's Edge is like kind of flirting with that a little bit. And I backed one just a few months ago that is a 4X game that'll be here, I think, in March. And so it's a genre that I don't really have and that I'm thinking about a little bit. And I like the designer, I like the company and the games they've published before, and I like the look of this one. Even though I think if I stare too much at some of the bugs, they'll kind of make my skin crawl a little bit. But it's a fun a fun theme, and definitely they made some of the gross looking spiders like a little less creepy than they could be. So anyways, March of the Ants I think looks like a pretty solid game, so it's going to be my pick of the week this week. All right, and that is going to do it for Crowdfunding Corner here for the last week of September.